Please take your seats. Distinguished representatives, Director General, we're all gathered here today to consider an on-site inspection request submitted by Equilibria concerning an event in Atlantis. I will chair our 4 plenary sessions. My name is Daurena Ben, I represent Algeria. So before we proceed, let me tell you briefly what we will do during the first plenary session. We will hear from the Director General, then the Technical Secretariat will brief us on technical aspects. Then I'll give the floor to Equilibria and Atlantis to make their statements. And then we will hear from the country groups and national statements. So just as a reminder, the list of speakers is open, and if you wish to speak, please indicate this to the secretary. So we all have a shared interest in establishing the facts. I wish you successful deliberations. So let me declare the first plenary session open. So I'll give the floor to the Director General. He will brief us on the request.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairperson. The Secretariat is here at your disposal through the course of your consideration of this request for an on-site inspection. We already have with us this morning some colleagues from the staff. And let me first just inquire of our legal counsel whether he has anything specific he might wish to offer.
Just a few points of clarification.
Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson, and thank you, Mr. Director General. Just a few points for clarification. With a number of key words, so to speak. First of all, time frame. We're all aware that once the on-site inspection request was received, the clock should already have started ticking. So we hope you're aware that the Executive Council will have to take a decision on that on-site inspection request within 96 hours. And all other activities within the Executive Council, as well as within this Secretariat, will also follow that time frame as closely defined by the treaty in various provisions. Secondly, preparations. As soon as the DG verifies that the on-site inspection satisfies all the requirements, then the Technical Secretariat shall start making preparations, bearing in mind that an on-site inspection team will have to be present in a territory of the inspected state party within 6 days, counting from the receipt of the on-site inspection request. Then, third, consultation and clarification. These words actually mean 2 things. First of all, they together constitute one separate element of the international verification regime. And secondly, they also run through the whole of the process within the Executive Council as part of the process aiding that council in taking a decision on the on-site inspection request. And I need especially to stress that the consultation and clarification are to be conducted without prejudice to the right of any state party to make a request. In other words, the process of consultation and clarification is not a precondition for making an on-site inspection request, but the requesting state party has the obligation under the treaty to specify any reason why the consultation and clarification had not been carried out. And third, there is a possibility for the requesting state party to withdraw the on-site inspection request. Once an on-site inspection request is withdrawn, then there will not be any basis for the Executive Council to reach a decision on an on-site inspection, because an on-site inspection under the CTBT is not an initiative on the part of the Executive Council. It is, first of all, a request from a requesting state party, and secondly, a decision taken by the Executive Council upon that request to conduct an on-site inspection. Lastly, there is a prohibition under the treaty of abusive or frivolous request. We need also to bear that in mind. And then, lastly, I also want to point out several points in a scenario for simulation. In paragraph 2, one reads that Equilibria has already requested clarification from Atlantis and has already requested the DG for assistance in providing additional information. Now, all these keywords are keywords from the treaty: clarification, additional information. And in the second last paragraph, we read that the on-site inspection met treaty requirements. So that means that on-site inspection request has been properly filed and the clock is indeed ticking. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Legal Counsel, for your explanation of some of these points related to our work here this morning. At this time, I'm going to ask the Director of the International Data Center to provide a further briefing based on the information already available to the Council that is contained in the on-site inspection request, which I believe all members of the Council have before them. So could I ask the Director, please, to take the floor?
Thank you very much, and good morning, Chair, Director General, participants. I, as the Director General just said, will provide a little bit more insight this morning on the information that is already available to you, and also briefly sketch the way ahead as we expect, my apologies, as we expect more information to become available. If we can have the first slides, please. So, in summary, we're all aware that there was an event recorded by the International Monitoring System in the territory of Atlantis on the 21st of May. What is the background to that? This event did not occur as a single once-off. In fact, this event occurred as a sequence, or what was originally seen as a sequence. There was a much larger event the day before of magnitude 5.9. That event was in the next few hours immediately followed by several aftershocks in the same region. 10, in fact, to be precise, aftershocks. What we need to point out here is that this main event, plus all the aftershocks, without any difficulty, screened out of our SSEB, the Standard Screened Event Bulletin. But this particular event that has now become the event of interest did not screen out. The main reason being that in the screening process, the MS to MB ratio failed and contributed significantly to the calculation, essentially. So I can remind you, this is all done automatically. But the main reason why the MB to MS ratio turned out to be different than for the other stations for the other events, is that we had one station, STKA, Stevens Creek, who provided a very low surface wave magnitude. So all the information, all the data, the products have been available according to what is required of the International Data Center. We have, in the meantime, since our first briefing on this matter, we have completed all the interactive analysis. All that is pending now is to receive the first samples, as you will see in a later slide. Just to confirm also that the IMS is working as expected. We've at this stage only have a few stations that did not provide data at the time of this event. This is the map of the stations that contributed and that were used in the final analysis. There are 9 stations in total, of which 7 are primary seismic, 2 are auxiliary seismic, and of course, this event being only magnitude 4, we did not expect to see any hydroacoustic or infrasound data. And perhaps just to show you on the map, the station that I'm pointing out, that is STKA. That is the station where we had the recording of the surface wave magnitude. So it's in this region. It's just over 1,000 kilometers away from the event. A little bit of background. We know that on the territory of Atlantis there are a lot of mining that we are aware of. There's a lot of uranium mining. I again will have to turn to just briefly point out to you first the occurrence of the main shock, the 5.9, and then the 4, magnitude 4 that followed that as part of the sequence of aftershocks. So this is the main shock that I'm pointing to. That is the event of interest in close proximity to Gravesity, and it's surrounded by many mines. In particular, in this area, we're also, of course, aware that in the past, Atlantis did conduct many nuclear tests, and they were all in the area just to the northeast. In those areas mainly where tests have been conducted in the past. This is the calculated analysis of the event, providing you with the time, the error margin, both in time but also in terms of the error ellipse, the 90% confidence interval. We've provided latitude and longitude. The depth, as always, is fixed on the surface. Body wave magnitude of 4. I'm also pleased to point out to you that, as is required by the guidelines of the treaty, that this event was released just over 30 hours after the end of the data day, so well within the 2-day allowance that is made by the treaty. I hope you can see this. So this is the error ellipse. It is really taking the numbers and put it into a graphical format for you. What we see here, the yellow ellipse, is the so-called area of uncertainty. It is just over 900 square kilometers. The yellow star in the middle is the location of the event of interest, And what you would see, and I would again point it out, that most of these events are the aftershocks that followed. The main shock is this larger green dot that we see here. These are aftershocks that followed, roughly about 10 of them. Then the event of interest was in fact number 11 in this sequence. If we zoom out a little bit, we see a bigger picture. It's the same information at a larger scale, but what is important here is that we've now included seismicity from the past 5 years. So we can point out that this area is known in terms of seismicity that occurs, and in particular to the east, most of that seismicity is related to the mining that's taking place in this area. I want to briefly compare the event that occurred on the 21st of May, which is the, as you sit, the top left diagram. What are we showing? This is from the AZAR array, so there's the first 6 channels that you would see are in red are short period vertical component. The next 3 channels are free component broadband, again in vertical east, west, north, south directions. We compare the event of the 21st with some of the known earthquakes in that region. We've highlighted one in particular here. Just a usual earthquake from that area recorded on exactly the same channel. So we're comparing not just the same array, but exactly the same channels that we're looking at. And again, the first 6 in red are the short period vertical. The next 3 are the broadband free component station that forms part of the array. I think immediately obvious, of course, is for the 21st of May, a very strong initial onset, the PN, refracted P wave arrival, where with the earthquake we see it's a much more emergent arrival. We see much stronger surface waves coming in later for the earthquake, where for the event of the 21st of May it is not that clear. It's also slightly lower frequency that we observe from the event of the 21st of May. As with the waveform technology, the radionuclide technology is also working very well. Again, only a few stations that are not contributing or expected to contribute any data. But let me immediately point out the region to you. Around Atlantis, there are many, again, as you sit to your right, no, to your left, will be the particulate radionuclide systems. To your right will be the free noble gas radionuclide systems that we have in the area. I've indicated the event with the red dot. And these are the stations and systems that are working currently, from which we expect to receive data samples. And that will happen fairly soon now. We expect in the next 24 hours or so to have some more information for you on this. This is the initial forward modeling that was done, assuming a 2-hour release immediately after the event from the site. You can see the cloud movement, and certainly the current wind directions. We do expect several stations in the area to, if there is any noble gas or particulate isotope that are relevant to this release, that we will record that we'll be able to share that with you. As I've pointed out in a previous slide, of course, there are many nuclear facilities on the territory of Atlantis, and we would have to, at the final analysis and results, we'll have to look very carefully in our interpretation of where the potential release could have come from. Director General, thank you very much. That was the last slide.
Thank you very much for this briefing of the most recent information available to the Secretariat. Perhaps I might see whether any member of the Council had a question they would want to pose at this time. Well, it seems not. Yes, sir.
For the Technical Secretariat, please, how does the Technical Secretariat reconcile the very impulsive P-in waves? If we could go back to slide 9, please. On the waveforms slides. Yeah, so for the event of 21 May, how does this Technical Secretariat reconcile the very impulsive P-in arrivals for this event? And can you give us an assessment as to any interpolation that might be with regards to man-made versus, in other words, would it be suggestive of the mining activity, or is it something a little bit stronger?
So, if I can provide a brief interpretation of this, it's linked to the mechanism that we're looking at. So, first interpretation is two very different mechanisms. The impulsiveness of the arrival on the 21st of May would indicate a more symmetric, more compressive release. It would also indicate a much faster source time function. In other words, the event, whatever the event was, happened much quicker than the event that we see in the lower diagram on the right, which is, as I mentioned, more typical with earthquakes, where the motion happens over a longer period across a fault line, for instance. The mechanism is fairly complex, and that's what's giving rise to the fact that as the fault starts slipping, there is a gentle start-up of energy, of initial energy, and then as the movement across the fault expands, in this case could be more than a kilometer, then we see the more complex arrivals, also due to the geology, of course. But if for the moment we assume that because it's the same area, it's the same seismic array recording the energy, then the difference that we observe is mostly due to the source. So interpretation would be two very different sources. The event of the 21st of May, more compressive, more symmetric, could be more spherical, and released over a much shorter period of time than for the earthquake, where it's a very clear slippage that occurred over a longer period, building up and reaching a peak at some point.
Just one follow-up, please. You said that the particulate and noble gas data would be available within the next 24 hours. How far into the 96-hour window are we right now? If we can.
So roughly what we will do, the first 24 hours is before lunchtime. The second 24 hours will be after lunch.
Perfect.
And then maybe, third day will be kind of overnight, the evening, and then the final half day tomorrow will be the fourth day.
Thank you.
Does any other member have a question? Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. I would like to know if you have any historical status. Is this defined as a seismic zone for this country?
Yes, indeed, as I showed on that slide, there is if we look in the last just under 5 years, there's a clear pattern of natural seismicity that do occur in that area, whether it's linked to mining or in some instances not. There's certainly seismicity that has been occurring in that region.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I just wanted to ask, given the meteorological modeling and the timing that it takes to process radionuclide information, when would be the soonest possible results coming from radionuclide stations? Thank you.
Well, this will be in the next 24 hours, so by tomorrow this time we should have essentially all the information that we need.
Is anybody else? No, okay. Perhaps then at this point I would invite the director of the on-site inspection division to provide some information as to how the preparations on the part of the Secretariat are proceeding against the contingency that an inspection might be authorized.
Thank you, Director General. Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I will try to be brief. In my presentation, I will show you the timelines and inform you about where we are now in the preparations, what happened in the last couple of hours, and also what we expect to happen in the near future. These timelines show what the upper one shows what happened in immediately after the Director General received the on-site inspection request, which was yesterday at 6 o'clock in the evening. After half an hour, the Director General acknowledged the receipt and requested Atlantis to provide clarification. Then the initial meeting of TS senior staff took place, during which we ascertained that the on-site inspection request meets the treaty requirements. And basically the preparation for the on-site inspection started. I was authorized to activate the Operation Support Center, which happened at 9 o'clock in the evening. And at 10 o'clock in the evening, the Director General distributed the on-site inspection request to all state parties. So we are now on basically still within the first 24 hours after the receipt. The time is going on. You see you have less than 80 hours because it's already 10:30, not 10. So you have less than 80 hours to take the decision. The fact that Atlantis is so far from Vienna actually puts on us additional burden, because we will have to expect that if you approve the inspection, the inspection team will have to take at least 1 day for the travel. So when I look at the bottom scale backwards, the inspection team would have to arrive at the point of entry in Atlantis in 6 days from the receipt, but we'll have to depart from here basically 24 hours after your decision, if you take all the time for taking the decision. We expect to receive the clarification from Atlantis. According to treaty, they have 72 hours to prepare it after the Director General requested for clarification. So it means it should be on 2nd of June. Now, to what has been done and what is going on in the preparation. As I mentioned, the request has been reviewed and the preparation started. So, in relation to the technical tasks, we have already drafted the list of planned inspection activities. We started to collect additional information about the inspection area. The inspection team is slowly gathering, and they are starting, they will, once they come here, they will start working on the initial inspection plan, and we will draft inspection mandate and notification of inspection. Regarding the composition of the inspection team, we have immediately after the activation of the on-site operation support center, we have conducted a general call-up and availability check. We are now in the process of selecting the inspection team, and we are already starting with arranging the travel and accommodation for them. Then there are some other arrangements to be made, including the visa for and medical checks and some legal issues regarding to their contracts. But we expect that the draft list of members for the inspection team will be done soon, and we will submit it to the Director General for review and approval. In relation to inspection equipment, again, we immediately checked the availability status. We started with the selection of items for the inspection. The preparation of the equipment, including the preparation of transport documentation, has already started. This will probably take us quite a long time, but we have to be ready to depart around the time when you take the decision. So, in relation to the general logistics, we are preparing a note verbal for to Atlantis, which we will send soon, a request for provision of logistical support, which will start discussion between the Technical Secretariat and Atlantis on questions regarding supporting the on-site inspection. We have activated cooperation with other UN agencies which help us with preparing and especially in the field of safety and security. And we started to prepare our logistics and operation support plan. And that's about it in relation to the preparation. So we have, as I said, we have a lot of things to do. Unfortunately, we cannot wait for your decision because the timelines of the treaty are very strict, and we have to be ready basically at the time when you take the decision to dispatch the inspection team. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your very informative briefing on the status of preparations if an on-site inspection is authorized. Again, I would ask if any member state has any additional...
Point of order.
Yes, sir.
With all respect to the esteemed Director General, according to the Rule 13 of the Rules of Procedure, it is only the chairman who shall direct the discussions and accord the right to speak. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. This was all part of the information being provided by the Secretariat, but I immediately accede to the chairperson.
Well, it was our intention to check how well you know the regulations. Thank you, Director General. I thank the distinguished directors of the IDC and OSI for their briefings. So let me remind you that despite all the preparations for a possible inspection, it doesn't mean that your decision is predetermined. So it is up to you to decide in the coming time on whether we should go ahead with the inspection or not. So let me give the floor to Equilibria to make their statement and explain why they made this request. Yeah, you can speak from where you sit.
Thank you. Honorable Mr. Chairman, my dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, today the Republic of Equilibria wishes to make use of an instrument that is so vital for maintaining the deep relations of trust this international community has built. Equilibria believes that the Executive Council should authorize an on-site inspection to investigate the nature of the May 21st seismic event near Gravesity on the territory of our partners and friends, the Republic of Atlantis. This inspection is necessary to satiate any concerns about the origins of the event, and we're optimistic that the inspection will definitely prove Atlantis' goodwill and faithful compliance with the CTBT. Equilibria acknowledges and appreciates Atlantis' past efforts of keeping the Technical Secretariat informed about its ongoing mining in the region, as well as its swift, unilateral inspection by its own experts. Regrettably, however, as we've heard, CTBTO researchers were not able to conclusively rule out the possibility of a man-made explosion. We understand and share other state parties' concern about the scarcity of information on the event in question, and removing this uncertainty is exactly what the OSI could achieve. The rejection of the Technical Secretariat's data by Atlantis is troubling to us, as it suggests that they might have lost faith in the excellent quality of the CTBTO's impartial scientific research. Equilibria would regret that very much and pledges to do everything in its power to assure Atlantis of the accuracy and neutrality of the data and a possible OSI. Where information is contradictory, we should not rest until we have incontrovertible evidence for the truth. An on-site inspection could deliver just that. Equilibria would also like to remind the Council that any OSI does not violate any state party sovereignty, Rather, it reflects their faithful compliance to the joint decision of this community of nations. As we all know, Atlantis has been one of the most staunchest supporters of the CTBT from the very beginning. Welcoming an international, impartial OSI team bound by all the rules of the treaty to which Atlantis is a party would only add to their impressive track record. My friends and colleagues, for decades we have struggled to put this treaty into force and make OSIs part of the toolbox for enhancing global security. Let us now not shy away from using it. Let us prove to our citizens that the CTBT is alive and working. Please support this motion. Thank you very much.
I thank the distinguished representative of Equilibria for the statement. Now I give the floor to the distinguished representative of Atlantis to make their statement.
Thank you very much, Director General, Chair, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. As you all know, in our past, the United Kingdom conducted 12 major nuclear weapon tests between 1952 and 1957 on our territory. Bearing this in mind, our country has ratified the CTBT in 1969 and has signed the CTBT in 1996 and ratified it in 1998. Since then, our country has been a strong supporter of the CTBT. As you all know, we also joined the NPT in 1973 as a non-nuclear weapon state, but also mean that our country doesn't possess weapons of mass destruction and has no opportunity of nuclear power plants. As everyone here is aware, our country has been struck on May 20 by a huge earthquake near the mining region in the vicinity of Grove City. One day later, we had some aftershocks that has been confirmed by our local experts from our National Republican Seismological Institute, that the earthquake is a result of a mining that has been going on the site with explosions for the 5 past years. This has also been informed, according Part 3, Paragraph 1 of the Protocol to the CTBT, to the Technical Secretariat. So we deeply regret that our country has been accused by Equilibria of a nuclear test while we have been a victim of a major earthquake, and we always have been a strong supporter of the CTBT. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we strongly hope that this Executive Council would clarify the misunderstanding of the event and that this would be seen as an earthquake and not a nuclear test. Thank you very much.
Thank you, distinguished representative of Atlantis. Now we turn to the group country statements, country group statements. We so far have 2 requests to speak. First, I give the floor to the representative of the European Union. Please identify yourself.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and distinguished excellencies and ladies and gentlemen. I have the honor to speak on behalf of the European Union and its member states. The following countries align themselves with these statements: Equilibria, France, Germany, Hungary, Italy, Lithuania, Netherlands, Poland, and the United Kingdom. We urge the Council to make full use of tools and provisions within the treaty that allow the national states parties to make better informed decisions. So following from this, the EU urged the Executive Council to carefully evaluate all the available data and make a decision in line with the Article 4 of the CTBT. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Now I would like to ask the representative of the African group to speak. And since we don't have any more group statements, I'll ask the Lithuanian representative to prepare.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have the honor to speak on behalf of the African Group. The African Group would like to congratulate you for your election as a chair of the Executive Council and assure the chairmanship for its full cooperation and support. The African Group also expressed its appreciation to the Director General for his statement and other members of the chairmanship. The African Group, while it is deeply concerned about the catastrophic humanitarian and environmental consequences resulting from any use of nuclear weapons, the risk posed by the continued existence of nuclear weapons and testing any nuclear devices, it is of the view that a total and complete elimination of such weapons remains the only way to guarantee that nuclear weapons are never used again under any circumstances. In this regard, we urge the nuclear weapon states to fulfill their obligation based on NPT regarding full and complete disarmament and facilitate the means for peaceful application of nuclear energy for developing countries, especially African countries. The group also acknowledging the urgency of achieving and maintaining a nuclear weapon-free world. The African Group recognized the vital importance of comprehensive nuclear test ban treaty and its verification regime as a core element of the nuclear disarmament and non-proliferation regime. The African Group also seized the opportunity to refer to the Treaty of Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons, which was adopted last September last year by 120 states, and we appreciate the ratification of the treaty by peace-loving nations like Australia, Mexico, Thailand, Vietnam, and Cuba, to name just a few of them. Mr. Chair, the African Group reiterates the importance and uniqueness of IMS and encourage the Technical Secretariat and the IDC to continue to work to maintain and support the verification regime and monitor the globe for any possible nuclear explosion, as well as provide member states of the CTBT with relevant data and products. On-site inspection, which is more or less interference in the internal affairs of ISB and more or less violates the fundamental principle of national sovereignty, which can only be carried out when the evidence of violations is incontrovertible. Atlantis is an active member of international disarmament, arms control, non-proliferation, and test ban regime. This country has ratified the CTBT as an Annex II state and does not possess weapons of mass destruction. Although Atlantis houses 33% of the world's uranium deposits, it does not have a nuclear power plant in operation, and the representative of Atlantis stated that the information is not accurate and there is no other plausible explanation than a seismic replica improved by mining. He also added the emergency situation that has been announced in that area. Regarding the OSI request, any suspicious event must be thoroughly viewed. On-site inspection should be a tool that is rarely and sparingly used only in situations where there is sufficient evidence that a possible violation of CTBT has been occurred. This request for on-site inspection must be based on authenticated data and valid information, and we request the Technical Secretariat and Equilibria to provide more substantive information in this regard, of course, if there is any. One last point, Mr. Chairman. I would also like to emphasize on this fact and the treaty-based right of the Atlantis that give it some time until 2nd of June to provide you more clarification. I thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I thank the African Group for their statement. I would like to clarify from the United States representative, do you have a group statement?
Yeah, Chair, thank you. The group of North America and European and Western Europe will make a statement.
Please proceed.
Mr. Chairman, honorable member states, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor to speak on behalf of the North American Western Europe group. And we would like to assure you our fullest support and cooperation to make our deliberations successful and fruitful today. Our confidence in the CTBTO emanates from its unique capacity and determination to safeguard our world from the threats of nuclear explosions and their hazardous and devastating consequences. We have full confidence on the credibility of the data provided by the IMS, which uses second-to-none technologies. At the same time, we respect the rights of each state party to the treaty. Therefore, we welcome the request submitted by Equilibria on the 26th of May 2026 to conduct an on-site inspection, which is in compliance with Article 4 of the CTBT. So, we are looking forward to contributing constructively to the deliberations and consultations in the spirit and letter of the treaty and its protocol. In conclusion, we would like to reaffirm the North American Western Group commitments to the promotion of international peace and security through the implementation of the CTBT to its fullest extent. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I would like to give the floor to the distinguished representative of Lithuania for their national statement. They will be followed by France. Just as a reminder, you have maximum 2 minutes for your statements.
Mr. Chairman, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's an honor to address this body. The Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty remains a cornerstone of the disarmament and non-proliferation architecture by restricting the ability of nations to develop their nuclear weapons and constraining the ability to test these weapons. And in line with this goal, the core feature of the treaty is its robust scientific verification regime. Lithuania has strong confidence in the treaty's verification regime, given that the IMS is close to its full operational capacity. And in regards to the unusual seismic event registered on 21 May, Lithuania notes that 7 of the primary seismic stations and 2 of the auxiliary stations registered the event across 3 continents. And we also note the irregularity in the P-wave signature that was generated, which differs from the aftershocks in the vicinity of the mining site. We are concerned about the nature of this event, and Lithuania supports the European Union's request to make additional information available, especially radionuclide data. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next is the national statement of France. It will be followed by Brazil, Azerbaijan, and the Republic of Korea.
Monsieur le Président, permettez-moi tout d'abord de remercier vous, ainsi que le directeur général pour la mise en place et la coordination efficace de cette réunion. La cause qui nous réunit aujourd'hui est d'une importance cruciale. Est-ce que l'interprétation marche dans la salle? Is there interpretation in the room? Well, on this occasion, I will continue in English, but as a French-speaking delegate and a country presiding Francophonie, I insist that interpretation into 6 official languages of the UN be provided during this and the next Executive Council meetings. Mr. President, France fully aligns itself with the EU statement and would like to add the following points on a national level. First of all, France underscores the value of the international monitoring system, which provides reliable, verifiable, and independent data to all states parties to the treaty. It has repeatedly proved its efficiency and its unique contribution in the field of surveillance of claimed or clandestine nuclear explosions. With over 30 stations of the IMS under the responsibility at a national or a joint level of France, it is one of the largest operators of the IMS. CTBTO, IMS, and this verification regime have repeatedly proven their reliability, and we have no reason to doubt its findings. It is thus with serious concern that France considers the information submitted by Equilibria regarding the possible explosive nature of the event in Atlantis on 21st of May. We call on all the members of the Executive Council to work in the spirit of credible and meaningful dialogue to de-escalate the tensions and ensure all state parties fully comply with the obligations under the treaty. Additional technical consultations are needed to ensure the evidence for launching an OSI is sufficient. France also welcomes the commitment of Atlantis to continue to comply fully with all its obligations under the CTBT. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, the distinguished representative of France. I acknowledge your request about the translation, and I hope in our following sessions the translation will be provided. Before we proceed to Brazil's statement, I would like to remind you that if you wish to speak, please raise your country plate. I think in 10 minutes I will close. Okay. Please, Brazil.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Your Excellencies, and esteemed members of the Executive Council. I have the honor of presenting Brazil's position on the CTBT. As a state member party to the NPT, Brazil was one of the earliest signatories and ratifiers of the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty. Brazil currently provides 7 monitoring systems to the global verification regime that the Preparatory Commission for the CTBTO is putting in place to verify treaty compliance. A site survey for the installation of an infrasound station was completed in June, and an assessment of a seismic station is underway. We are in current deliberation to assess a future role for radionuclide labs. Mr. Chairman, in terms of the seismic event that was detected on May 21st, we emphasize our strong support for state sovereignty, and we implore that any on-site inspections be in full compliance with Article 4 of the CTBT. Brazil will remain committed to cooperate with other member states to abide by the articles of the treaty with the aim to keep our world free from nuclear testing. However, all member states have to work together to avoid politicizing any cases. Our organization is technical in nature, and any decision shall be based on a high level of consensus. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, distinguished representative of Brazil. Azerbaijan, you have the floor.
The chairperson, representatives of the Secretariat, fellow Executive Council members. Since signing and ratifying the treaty, the Republic of Azerbaijan has been committed to disarmament and non-proliferation. It has always been our country's position that nuclear weapons and nuclear tests are a threat to humanity. While we have not reached the conclusion that the nuclear test was conducted in Atlantis, we support Equilibria's request for an on-site inspection in Atlantis. The purpose for this call for an on-site inspection is to verify the true nature of the event under dispute. In addition, this position for an on-site inspection is also on the basis of the data provided to us by the IDC. Therefore, we call on all state parties to work together for the actualization of international peace and security through the OSI verification regime. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker will be the representative of the Republic of Korea, followed by the Netherlands, Democratic Republic of Congo, and Italy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Director General, Excellencies. Like Atlantis, the Republic of Korea signed the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty on the day it opened for signature in September 1996 and is a firm advocate on the global prohibition of nuclear testing. The Republic of Korea knows well the danger of nuclear weapons tests, having lived with 6 underground nuclear test explosions by the Democratic People's Republic of Korea until June 12, 2018, when Kim Jong-un signed the CTBT in Singapore. It is imperative, in our view, to resolve these concerns regarding Atlantis in a fair and expeditious manner in accordance with the treaty. To that end, we have full confidence in the impartial scientific monitoring of the international monitoring system, but we also encourage countries that have national data to share with their partners and to come forward so the best decision that can be made, whether that is satellite data or otherwise. And we particularly encourage right now those who have radionuclide data to come forward. We believe that an on-site inspection in accordance with Article 4 of the treaty and Part 2 of the protocol to the treaty could confirm whether or not a nuclear test has occurred, but for the moment we believe it is important for us to wait for the radionuclide data to come in from the International Data Center in order to make the best possible decision. Thank you very much.
Thank you, the distinguished representative of the Republic of Korea, for your statement. Now I invite the Netherlands.
Honorable Director General, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Secretary, Honorable Directors and distinguished delegates. The Kingdom of Netherlands fully aligns itself with the statement delivered by France on behalf of the European Union. We would like to add some remarks in our national capacity. Netherlands is a state party to the CTBT since March 1999. It was a Dutch ambassador, Jaap Ramakar, who chaired the negotiation that leads to the establishment of the CTBT in 1996. And since then, the Netherlands have always regarded the treaty as a fundamental pillar of the international disarmament system. We believe the current situation is highly concerning, and we urge the Executive Council to carefully assess all the relevant information available and to make the fact-based decision. The Netherlands would like to emphasize our willingness to take part in an open-minded manner at the deliberation of the Council, and we sincerely hope that this issue can be fully resolved. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of the Netherlands for their statement, and I invite the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Thank you, Chairperson. We would like to align ourselves with the African group statement, and in my national position, just to state paragraph 40, Article 2 of the treaty states that the Executive Council shall, among other things, facilitate consultation and clarification among state parties in accordance with Article 4. Paragraph 1 of Article 4 enumerates the 4 elements of the verification regime as IMS, CNC, OSI, and CBMs. There's a logical sequence here that we should bear in mind. And that is, if we have to go through the clarification and consultation first, and then try the verification element. This has been clearly captured in paragraph 29, Article 4 of the treaty, as it states that states parties should first make every effort to clarify and resolve among themselves or through the organization any matters which may cause concern about possible non-compliance with the basic obligations of this treaty. More importantly, paragraph 41 of Part 2 of the Protocol states that in accordance with Article 4, para 37, the request for an OSI shall contain at least information such as the results of a consultation and clarification process in accordance with Article 4. Based on the above-mentioned treaty mandatory obligation, on page 2 of the request for OSI, there is nothing about the result of consultation and clarification. Furthermore, the request for OSI was based only in seismic data and not on the waveform station like infrasound or hydroacoustic data. Therefore, the data is not substantive. We're of the view that there is no sufficient evidence of a possible violation of the CTBT has occurred. Therefore, this request lacks the treaty-based requirements to be considered by the Executive Council, and we are not in a position to support it. Besides that, more detailed information has just been provided by the IDC and require further consideration. And as mentioned, there is uranium mining in that area, and from the ATM analysis, we cannot deduct that there was abnormal activity there. Although we urge both Equilibria and Atlantis first to go through the consultation and clarification process, and the fact that Atlantis is entitled to exercise its right to provide clarification by the 2nd of June, we also request that in the case an OSI would not be approved, as it might be frivolous or abusive, the esteemed Executive Council implement the appropriate measures based in para 67 of Article 4 of the treaty. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of the Democratic Republic of Congo for their statement, and I invite the Italian representative, the Russian Federation, United Kingdom and Botswana will be next.
Mr. Chairman, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Italy aligns itself with the statement delivered by the European Union. I would like to add some remarks in my national capacity. Italy has always been and remains a strong supporter of the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty, and therefore Italy is deeply concerned with the possible man-made nature of the seismic event detected in Atlantis. On behalf of the country that has made substantial contributions in support of the CTBTO's work, specifically in areas such as verification regime enhancement and technical assistance, let me reiterate once again that more investigation and as more clarifications as possible are needed before making such an important decision as dispatching an on-site inspection on the Atlantis territory. Thank you.
Thank you, the distinguished representative of Italy. I would like to invite the Russian Federation's representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Russian Federation, of course, has the view that all due diligence must be done before an OSI is authorized. We also affirm that no country within the CTBT or without should be allowed to test a nuclear weapon. Furthermore, we hope that Atlantis, with whom we've enjoyed peace in recent years, has not conducted a nuclear weapons test. Each member state should exhaust all national technical means in order to approve an on-site inspection, and you can be certain that Russia is currently analyzing our own data regarding the May 21st seismic event. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I thank the distinguished representative of the Russian Federation and would like to invite the United Kingdom's representative.
Mr. Chairman, honorable chairs and distinguished delegates, I'm honored to speak on behalf of the delegation of the United Kingdom. And the United Kingdom believes that the verification process in current nuclear non-proliferation regime is crucial to the world's security. Our country remains a proud supporter of the CTBTO. As one of the first signatories in 1996, the United Kingdom ratified the treaty in 1998. Since the ratification, we, United Kingdom, have strongly supported the basis of the CTBTO that all nuclear explosions must be prohibited. Therefore, we believe that in case there is a suspicion on that a man-made event might take place, its nature needs to be verified for both the requesting and the requested states. The international community has its responsibility to do its best to remain the world safe and stable. United Kingdom believes the on-site inspection requested by Equilibria would erase doubts for both Equilibria and Atlantis. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, our message is very simple. The United Kingdom fully supports the CTBTO in terms of verification regime and believes that it is necessary to conduct an on-site inspection in Atlantis. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of the United Kingdom for their statement and would like to invite the representative of Botswana to be followed by Egypt, China, and Hungary.
Thank you. On behalf of the government of Botswana, I'd like to thank the chairman for the opportunity to present our statement. Botswana appreciates international efforts to cease nuclear testing and to achieve nuclear disarmament. We are staunch supporters of the CTBT and the other elements of the global non-proliferation regime. We must remind ourselves, however, that we have gathered here today to consider an on-site inspection request. The treaty text is very clear that the on-site inspection mechanism represents the final verification measure. It is an intrusive operation and it must be used with caution. As a member of the non-aligned movement, Botswana prides itself in retaining neutrality. We appreciate the concerns Equilibria entertains about the events occurring in Atlantis. We understand the need that the CTBT must be verified, but we urge caution in abusing the on-site inspection mechanism without compelling evidence. Any misuse of the OSI measure will undermine confidence not only in the CTBT, but also in the global non-proliferation regime. We must therefore subject the request here to careful scrutiny. We must evaluate whether we're talking about a genuine potential violation of the CTBT or whether we're dealing with an instance of bilateral animosity. Furthermore, the scientific evidence obtained from the international monitoring system concerning the events on 21st May is anything but clear. Botswana would finally like to remind the international community that a humanitarian catastrophe is underway in Atlantis as a result of the seismic event. Botswana would like to offer its full humanitarian support to the greatest possible extent to the peoples affected by the seismic events in Atlantis. To be sure, Botswana is ready to support efforts to verify that individual states adhere to their treaty obligations, but Botswana will not agree to holding the CTBT hostage to a bilateral dynamic between Atlantis and Equilibria. We must exhaust all other options first before rushing into authorizing a highly intrusive verification measure. We are therefore not in a position to support and authorize the on-site inspection request. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished delegate of Botswana for their statement and their readiness to render humanitarian assistance to Atlantis. Now I invite the distinguished representative of Egypt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On behalf of the Republic of Egypt, allow me to congratulate you on your election as chair of the Executive Council meeting of CTBTO. You can count on the full support of my delegation in achieving a positive outcome of this meeting. I would like to thank the Director General for his introductory remarks and the Secretariat for the technical briefings. My country aligns itself with the statement delivered by the African Group and wishes to present the following statement in its national capacity. Mr. Chairman, first, I would like to recall that after a long process and efforts towards the entry into force of the treaty, Egypt ratified the CTBT and remains fully committed to its obligation under the treaty. We underline the importance of the verification regime to fulfill its mission and its value to global nuclear disarmament and non-proliferation. Secondly, my delegation stressed the technical progress made by the international monitoring system in providing precise and reliable data to state parties. In this regard, we believe that the on-site inspection is the definitive verification measure to the full, effective, and non-discriminatory implementation of the provisions of the treaty. Therefore, Egypt expressed its concern on the event detected in the Republic of Atlantis, and considering its leading role in the region, we would urge this state party to participate in the consultation and clarification process established within the verification regime. Mr. Chairman, finally, Egypt reiterates its support to the CTBT and its commitment to participate in the deliberation of the Executive Council to reach a consensus on this particular issue. Thank you very much.
I thank the distinguished delegate of Egypt for their statement. Before we proceed, I would like to give the floor to the legal counsel for clarification regarding the point raised by Botswana, by the Democratic Republic of Congo, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson, distinguished delegates. In response to the point raised by the representative of the Republic of Congo, as to whether or not a process of consultation and clarification has been conducted. First of all, I refer to the scenario itself, to just stay away from the actual proceeding. In the last about two paragraphs, we'll find out the statement that consultation and clarification, the process has indeed taken place. Having said that, we must, again, back to our own Executive Council, the on-site inspection request itself has to be self-sufficient. Therefore, it should be possible to draw the conclusion from the on-site inspection request itself without regard scenario, because in actual life, this scenario would not exist at the time when the real Executive Council holds its proceedings. Now, my suggestion here for our simulation purposes is that we read the statement here under item H on the on-site inspection request. We read the statement itself in combination together with the heading of that section. That is, the heading itself requires the result of a consultation and clarification process, and by providing or supplying a statement there, it is implied that it is actually the result of a consultation and on-site consultation clarification process, because otherwise the statement would be an explanation as to why consultation or clarification had not taken place. So we have to take it that consultation and clarification had indeed taken place prior to making of this on-site inspection request. Thank you.
I thank the legal counsel for this clarification. Would you like to respond? Please, I give the floor to the DRC.
Yeah, thank you very much. As a question exactly, I would like to refer to the request for OSI. Since it's the results of the CNC has not been mentioned in paragraph H. That was the reason that I posed that question to you. And based on paragraph 41 of part 2, I would also like to bring to your kind attention that the request has not been signed by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Equilibria. So we are in the view that it lacks credibility to be considered by the esteemed Executive Council. Thank you very much.
Point of order, request is accurate and we work with it. The request is accurate. We do not, in process of simulation, for running the simulation, the request is accurate. It was ascertained by Director General. It means requirements, hence the Executive Council is meeting. So signature and all the things are accurate as they are.
Since we assume that CTBT is in force, so assume that the signature is there.
So take it for granted. At least it must be. There is a signature here. Thank you.
I would like to give the floor to the distinguished representative of China for making their national statement.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Chair, the People's Republic of China requested to present its national position quite early in this meeting. And it is regrettable that despite sitting in front of the chair, the flag of the People's Republic of China could not be noticed. We therefore call on the Secretariat to do their work and assist the chair in identifying the speakers and the sequence and order in which the requests are made. I thank you. I proceed with my statement. Chair, allow me to acknowledge the request by Equilibria for an on-site inspection to establish the exact facts regarding what is alleged by Equilibria to have taken place in Atlantis. Chair, allow me also to express my delegation's appreciation to our Director General, the Legal Counsel, and the directors of the International Data Center and the On-Site Inspection Division for their introductory statements and clarifications on the matter before Council. China is one of the early signatories of the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty, takes its international obligations under the treaty very seriously, and we wish to be guided by the treaty and treaty alone. In this regard, we do not wish to be influenced by or guided in our position by any other considerations, but by an independent report of an on-site inspection. To this end, the People's Republic of China supports the request for an on-site inspection and hope that the rest of Council can go along with this position. I thank you.
I thank the distinguished delegate of China, and before we proceed to the Hungarian statement, I would like to ask Poland, Germany, Nigeria to prepare. So, Hungary, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Hungary fully associates itself with the statement of the European Union. Hungary had been committed to the objectives of the treaty since the very beginning and reiterates the importance of the effective implementation by the state parties. Also, we are deeply concerned with the seismic event that took place in Atlantis. In this context, the CTBT has the world's largest and most sophisticated multilateral verification regime, and we are proud that our country has contributed to its strengthening. Any decision adopted today shall be taken by consensus in line with Article 4 of the CTBT, taking into account that its main purpose is to clarify the nature and the circumstances of the event. Thank you.
I thank the Hungarian representative for their statement. I would like to invite the Polish representative.
Mr. Chairman, Poland congratulates you on your appointment and to also thank you for your leadership. My delegation assures you of our full support as you steer us through this meeting. Poland aligned itself with the statement made by the European Union. Despite its late entry into force, the CTBT is an important pillar of the international legal system. The Republic of Poland continues to support all the efforts undertaken in the framework of this treaty to have a world free of nuclear tests. We see, not with pleasure, the possibility that one has been made recently in the territory of Atlantis, at that time when we enjoyed a period of tranquility since 2018. Mr. Chair, the Republic of Poland would like this Council, on the basis of the information provided to find consensus as it regards this issue, to carry out the on-site inspection as requested for the security of the entire international community. This request is in order as the evidence tendered before this Council are incontrovertible and in accordance with the provision of Article 4 of the Treaty. We therefore believe that this is the duty of the Council to uphold the provision of Article 4 as requested by a member state, Equilibria. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I thank the distinguished representative of Poland and invite the distinguished representative of Germany.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. Germany delegation aligned itself with the statement delivered by France on behalf of the European Union countries and would like to state the following remarks on our national capacity. Mr. Chair, members of the Executive Council, distinguished delegates, as this is the first time Germany takes the floor on this session, my delegation would like to congratulate Mr. Chair and the other members of the Executive Council on assuming this very important role and to assure you of our full cooperation for a successful conclusion of this session. We also would like to express our appreciation to the distinguished Director General for this initiative to convene this important meeting. His tireless efforts in securing total ban on nuclear testing and his support for the strengthening of the international nuclear disarmament regime. Mr. Chair, we are today deliberating a substantial matter related to our credibility and implementing the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty, which we all signed and ratified. Article 4, paragraph 3 stipulates very obviously that each state party undertakes in accordance with this treaty to cooperate with the organization and with other states parties to facilitate the verification of compliance with this treaty by permitting to conduct on-site inspections. Mr. Chairperson, therefore, Germany believes that to ensure an effective implementation of the treaty, every suspicion event should be thoroughly checked. We call up on Atlantis to take this history decision and to respond positively to the one-side inspection request. By taking this decision, Atlantis will contribute in enhancing and reinforcing the verification regime. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Germany for their statement, and I invite Nigeria. And also would like to ask Equilibria, Mexico, Turkey, and Cuba to prepare.
Thank you, Chair. Your Excellency, Director General, the Chair, and members of the Executive Council, distinguished delegates. On behalf of the Nigerian delegation, we congratulate the Chair of your assuming the role for this session and the election of your members to preside over this important matter before us once again today. Nigeria aligns itself to the statements made by the distinguished delegates representing the African Group, the European Union, and the noble call by Equilibrium. Mr. Chair, the OSI is a tool and mechanism that we find is fundamental to the core purpose of the CTBT that further underscores the NPT principles of which we, Nigeria, recognize as well as others, amongst whom we understand Atlantis and the requesting state are also. We are concerned from the presentation by the IDC that the geographical aspects and the proximity of other states in the vicinity of the seismic activity in the Pacific region, for us, Mr. Chair, justifies and does trigger the need for relevant verification. We have close bilateral ties with the Pacific region states and small island developing states, and thus the voice of this concern in light of their statements that will be delivered by Pacific SIDS. Chair, we appreciate the clarity that has been provided us by Atlantis, but we also hold the view that in the spirit of a CTBT and to clear doubts and uncertainties of what may emanate from the seismic activity, we will support the OSI be expedited to provide us the clarity as required by Para 35 of Article 4. Chair, we thank you.
Distinguished representative of Nigeria, thank you for your statement. I invite Equilibria to, would you like to clarify something?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Indeed, Equilibria would like to make a few clarifications. First of all, let me express our profound gratitude for the avid support from many state parties for our proposal to launch an on-site investigation into the seismic event in question. A few things have been addressed by other state parties that are not 100% congruent with the state of the treaty, for example. So as the legal counsel has already addressed, we have indeed gone through a clarification process with Atlantis. Unfortunately, it's very regrettable. We have not come to a fruitful conclusion in this process, and this is why we feel the need to move on to the next appropriate step, which is an on-site inspection. Equilibria would also like to clarify that according to Article 4 of the CTBT, an on-site inspection does not pose any threat to the receiving country. It is not an invasion of sovereignty, since any state party that has signed the treaty has agreed to receiving on-site inspections should the Executive Council decide that such an inspection is necessary. And of course, we want to assure Atlantis, but also every other state party in the room, of the on-site inspection being bound by all the rules and regulations in the treaty, being absolutely impartial and only interested in an objective result. And lastly, I would like to address something that the honorable delegate from the People's Republic of China has said. Let me just make clear that Equilibria has not alleged anything. We do not make any allegations whatsoever. Our sole interest in posing this proposal is to find out what has actually happened on May 21st in Atlantis and to find irrevocable evidence for the truth here. Thank you.
I thank Equilibria for clarifying their position and would like to invite the Mexican representative to deliver their national statement.
Thank you, dear Chairman. It's an honor to me to speak on behalf of Mexico. And we think that all actions on the international plate must be based on trust and transparency. But as the President Reagan once said, trust but verify. Our obligation is to comply with the provisions of the treaty, and we think that everything that is considered as a threat to the peace and security must be tested and eliminated. The request of equilibrium must be taken into account, and on-site inspection must take place in order to assure that there is no threat of violation to the treaty and there is no threat to peace and security, and in order to strengthen trust and cooperation with Atlantis. We think that in the world there is no trust in the world. There is no trust. The words of Immanuel Kant that the mankind has only two alternatives: either to end the war or to find eternal peace in the world cemetery of mankind after the extermination war can become a horrible reality. The future is in our hands, and we should make everything to make our world safe and secure. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Mexico for their statement and invite the representative of Turkey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On behalf of the delegation of the Republic of Turkey, allow me at the outset to congratulate you on your election. I would like to voice our continuous support and commitment to the CTBT. Turkey has signed the CTBT in 1996 and ratified it in 2000. This treaty is a key element to maintain international peace and stability. My delegation aligns itself with the statement delivered by a North American West European group and puts a significant importance on the scientific information provided by the IMS. Equally, Turkey recognizes and appreciates the past and current support provided by Atlantis to the treaty. With this understanding, Turkey continues to support the CTBT in all relevant international fora and encourages all state parties to fully comply with the CTBT provisions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, the distinguished representative of Turkey. I invite the representative of Cuba to deliver their statement and ask Ghana, Indonesia, and the United States to prepare.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Director General, distinguished delegates, we have the honor to speak on behalf of the Republic of Cuba. We congratulate you on your election as Chair of the Executive Council of the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty Organization. And we also thank the Director General for his commitment in the issues of non-proliferation. We fully endorse the statement of the distinguished delegates of the state parties of the non-aligned movement. On the national level, we express our deep concerns related to the claims of a possible underground nuclear test conducted by Atlantis. Consistent with its commitments to nuclear disarmament, the Republic of Cuba signed and ratified the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty Organization with the aim to put an end to the nuclear explosions and make our world safer. Today, our country strongly supports the work carried out by the CTBTO, which is pivotal in the field of nuclear non-proliferation. However, we have reasons to believe that the on-site inspection request is based on insufficient evidence in order to prove an underground nuclear explosion. On this basis, the Republic of Cuba is not in the position to approve the on-site inspection request. Indeed, we request further data on the triggering event. Mr. Chairman, in conclusion, the Republic of Cuba affirms it's willing to participate in the consultations with the state parties and the CTBTO organs in order to find a final decision on this on-site inspection request. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I would like to invite the representative of Ghana.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm honored to speak on behalf of the Ghana delegation. Ghana strongly supports global non-proliferation regime. As a state party to the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty since 1970, we are recognized as a non-nuclear weapon state. It has signed and ratified the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty in 2015. Furthermore, we would like to emphasize Africa's significant role in the CTBT verification regime, as it is the region with the largest number of states hosting monitoring facilities. Mr. Chairperson, delegation of Ghana would like to emphasize its strong support to the statement made by the Honorable Spokesperson of the African Union. Again, we would like to remind all honorable member states that an on-site inspection is the final verification measure under the CTBT. And the state of Atlantis will be providing further clarification on the suspected event. Furthermore, we believe that it is necessary to acquire the preliminary evaluations of the CTBTO International Data Center regarding radionuclide analysis. Thank you, Mr. Chairperson.
Thank you, the distinguished representative of Ghana. I would like to invite the representative of Indonesia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dear Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the Republic of Indonesia, in use of its attribution as a CTBTO state party, takes position on the suspicious event occurred on May 21st in the territory of Atlantis and rejects for the moment the request for an on-site inspection made by Equilibria, as we consider that there is not enough evidence and technical arguments to catalog this event as a possible violation of the treaty. We ask Technical Secretariat to make an even deeper evaluation of a data thrown by the IMS and to include the information coming from the radionuclide stations whose result could reduce the ambiguity of the suspicious event based on the greater number of technical elements. We would like to underline that Atlantis is a member of the NPT as a nuclear weapon-free state since 1973 and, like our republic, is an Asian member and has signed safeguards agreements with the IAEA since 1997, promoting nuclear technological cooperation for peaceful purposes among the developing countries. It is our desire that negotiations around this request for on-site inspection to Atlantis be made in a climate of respect and recognition of your rights as a signatory state and your history within the CTBTO and the other organizations. We bet that the outcome of the negotiations is always tied to fulfillment of our obligations as a signatory states of the treaty and always representing the best for our humanity. If at the end negotiations on-site inspection proceeds, it must never be an invasion or violation of the sovereignty of Atlantis and must be carried out in accordance with the provision of the Article 4 and the Part 2 of the protocol referred to the final verification machine. From Jakarta, we recommended consulting this position multilaterally within the members of the ASEAN that could be most affected and our allies who will be able to make important technical and political contribution to the process. Thank you.
I thank Indonesia for outlining their position and would like to invite the United States to deliver their statement and ask Norway, Kazakhstan and Japan to prepare.
Well, Mr. Chairperson, honorable member states, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to begin by reaffirming that the cessation of all nuclear weapon test explosions constitutes an effective measure for nuclear disarmament and non-proliferation in all its aspects. A suspicious event was detected on the territory of Atlantis by the IMS. Allow me to reaffirm the US strong belief that every suspicion should be thoroughly checked. It's common knowledge there are many ways how to conceal a nuclear explosion, thus circumventing Article 1 of the CTBT and jeopardizing international peace and security. So, the USA is deeply convinced that in case of uncertainty, instability, and lack of plausible evidence, what we need is to make use of all elements of the verification regime, which represents effectively verifiable and credibly enforceable tools under the aegis of the CTBTO. That's why the USA consists on the conduct of the on-site inspection. We see it as the only tool to clarify whether a nuclear explosion was conducted. Besides, we strongly oppose the assumption that the on-site inspection is an interference in internal affairs of states. The sole purpose of this verification tool is to gather facts, incontrovertible evidence for the truth. It is a technical, fact-finding mission in full compliance with the CTBT. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, to conclude, I would like to remind you, actually, the representative of Mexico, our neighboring state, has already reminded you of the proverb that one of our presidents, Ronald Reagan, found very appealing: trust but verify. So, trust but verify. That is the official position of the USA. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I thank the distinguished representative of the United States for delivering their statement and ask the representative of Norway to...
Mr. Chairman, dear Excellencies, Member States, ladies and gentlemen, we are here according to request of Equilibria. As we all know, the purpose of an on-site inspection shall be to clarify whether a nuclear weapon test, explosion, or any other nuclear explosion has been carried out in violation of Article 1 and to the extent possible to gather any facts which might assist in identifying a possible violator. We believe today's world needs CTBTO verification regime more than ever. Norway is providing 6 monitoring stations to the global verification regime that the PrepCom for the CTBTO is establishing to monitor and verify compliance with the treaty. We strongly recommend to decrease tension between parties and give a chance to scientists to take their role in regime. We believe on-site inspection should be done with respect of sovereignty of Atlantis. As we mentioned before, it's time to conclude with the help of science rather than assumptions, and we believe the only way to do that is by on-site inspection. Thank you very much.
I thank the distinguished representative of Norway and give the floor to the representative of Kazakhstan, and would like to ask Japan, Peru, and Botswana to prepare.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, and congratulations on your election. Your Excellencies, fellow delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to take the floor representing Kazakhstan in our national capacity. We look forward to fruitful and frank discussions over these next sessions. After the fall of the Soviet Union, Kazakhstan inherited the 4th largest nuclear arsenal, which we willingly relinquished. Additionally, we hosted one of the largest nuclear test sites in the world at Semipalatinsk. As such, our people are very familiar with the devastating consequences of nuclear testing and the dangers and challenges of hosting a nuclear arsenal and related infrastructure. Because of this history, Kazakhstan has been and continues to be very supportive of the CTBT and preventing all nuclear explosions. We are also parties to the NPT, signed the additional protocol with the IAEA, and helped establish the Central Asian Nuclear Weapons Free Zone. Having suffered the consequences of nuclear testing, we feel it is important to ensure that no nuclear test has occurred here. We recognize and appreciate Atlantis' involvement in the international community and their long commitment to international organizations and treaties such as the CTBT. We further recognize and sympathize with other delegates' concerns about the paucity of data. However, as other delegates have pointed out, an on-site inspection would establish that no violation has occurred and thus should be welcomed by Atlantis as further demonstrating their commitment to the CTBT. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Kazakhstan for their statement and ask the Japanese representative to take the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, Japan is a strong advocate of a non-nuclear weapon world, and the fourth state to ratify the CTBT in 1997. Japan also initiated the Friends of the CTBT foreign minister meets in the margins of the United Nations General Assembly in New York in 2002 and has 12 monitoring facilities. Japan made a voluntary contribution of over $700,000 in 2012 to enhance the CTBTO capabilities to monitor the dispersion of radioactivity in the atmosphere. The three non-nuclear principles adopted in 1968 by the Japanese Diet, in which Japan pledged not to manufacture, process, or permit the introduction of nuclear weapons in Japanese soil. Japan is currently awaiting for more information in relation to the nature of the seismic activity prior to making a decision, as we respect the national sovereignty of each member state, and we take into consideration Atlantis' effort to strengthen its relationship with Asian countries, with emphasis on the countries of ASEAN. Thank you very much.
I thank the distinguished representative of Japan and ask the distinguished representative of Peru to deliver their statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Your Excellencies, and the statement of the Republic of Peru will have the main message is to ask the honorable representatives of the state parties to the treaty not to be in a hurry with their conclusions. The main goal of our treaty is to live in trust and transparency, and we have built the great international monitoring system which can clarify the idea of IMSNO. So in that case, the Republic of Peru refrains from clarifying our position on on-site inspection before we will be provided with the results from the radionuclide stations. And just I wanted to add a little phrase to the quote of President Reagan, which was already twice mentioned. Trust but verify, but before verify, please clarify. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Peru for their statement and ask Botswana, would you like to clarify your position?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for giving me the floor once again. This is going to be a very, very short intervention. I would just like to add to the previous statement in which I requested equilibria to clarify whether or not relations with Atlantis are currently strained. So I would like to renew that request, and I would furthermore request equilibria to clarify also whether they have in the past submitted requests for on-site inspections. Thank you.
I give the right to equilibria to respond to Botswana's request. Would you like to respond at once? Or?
So to clarify Equilibria's position, we do, to the best of our knowledge, not have strained relations with the honorable people of Atlantis. And also to our knowledge, we have not submitted any OSI requests to date. If anybody has information to the contrary, we would love to hear about it. But we also, again, reiterate our strong support and ties to the honorable delegates and citizens of Atlantis. Thank you.
I thank Equilibria for this clarification and ask the distinguished representative of Venezuela to deliver their statement and ask Switzerland, India and Georgia to prepare.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor to speak on behalf of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela delegation. Allow me to congratulate you for
being elected as the chair of this Executive Council. Mr. Chairman, you can count on the full support of the BRV for the successful conclusion of this important meeting. I'm also sincere thank the Secretariat for good preparation of this meeting. Mr. Chairman, I would also like to thank the Director General for his commitment and leadership in the disarmament and the non-proliferation issues. Mr. Chairman, BRV emphasized the importance of effective implementation by state parties of the CTBT, which reflects the collective commitment to promote peace and security. Mr. Chairman, BRV expressed its serious concern about any activity which is tending to violate the treaty. However, there is a need to acquire more evidence of the violation, such as radionuclide data or any kind of data which will give us a clear evidence before the Venezuela Republic accepting to vote for the on-site inspection. Thank you.
I thank the representative of Venezuela for outlining their position and would like to ask the representative of Switzerland to deliver their statement.
Mr. Chair, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Switzerland fully aligns its support to the statement made by the North America Western Europe Group. Switzerland considers the CTBT as a vital tool of the global non-proliferation and nuclear disarmament regime, and that the ban on nuclear weapon testing remains relevant. In this regard, we would like to advocate our full support of the nuclear test ban without prejudice, and Switzerland remains steadfast in our support for the treaty. Thank you.
Thank you, distinguished representative of Switzerland, and I ask the representative of India to deliver their national statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, dear ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies. First of all, we would like to express our condolences to Atlantis with the connection of the earthquake, and would like to grant humanitarian aid if needed. Also, on behalf of India, we would like to state that we condemn all the violations of the treaties and nuclear explosions, and also strongly support the idea of the CTBT and the idea of on-site inspections. But we would like to mention that the data which was provided about the event which took place in the land of Atlantis is not sufficient enough to conduct an on-site inspection. And India would like to make a final decision about the conduction of on-site inspection only after the radionuclide data will be available. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of India for their national statement and for their readiness to deliver assistance to Atlantis, and would like to ask the representative of Georgia to present their statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Republic of Georgia stands committed to ensure a world without nuclear weapons. My country ratified the CTBT in 2002, and since then has been vocal about its position against any activity that jeopardizes human peace and security. Although we respect Equilibria's request for a on-site inspection, Georgia would like to wait for the radionuclide data analysis before setting in motion a on-site inspection. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Georgia, and I would like to ask the representative of the Islamic Republic of Iran to deliver their statement, and ask Iraq, Ukraine, and Côte d'Ivoire to prepare.
Yes, thank you, distinguished members of the Council. The Islamic Republic of Iran would like to highlight our impartiality as part of the non-aligned movement and our enthusiastic support of the CTBT since the ratification of the treaty in June 2018. Iran would like to first congratulate the member states and the international community on the lack of nuclear weapons explosions for nearly a decade. We would like to raise a point regarding the IMS verification regime. As we all know, the most recent nuclear weapons test, which occurred almost a decade ago in September 2017 in the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, that did produce unusual seismic activity, which was found to be consistent with a man-made explosion. However, it did not gain any additional evidence from radionuclide data, and although more IMS radionuclide stations have become operational since that time, it is possible that the radionuclide data coming in the next 24 hours may not reduce ambiguity in this situation. Therefore, we would like to point out that the current OSI request is not guaranteed to be bolstered by radionuclide data. Based on the current text of the OSI request from Equilibria, it does not appear to contain sufficient impartial evidence and analysis on behalf of their experts with regards to the seismic data. We would like to respect the sovereignty of Atlantis and the constrained resources of the CTBT and ensure that the OSI request by Equilibria is neither frivolous nor abusive. We would further like to stress that the on-site inspection should only be used when the suspicion contains evidence that is incontrovertible. Therefore, we conclude that the OSI request from Equilibria should contain more technical grounding to ensure sufficient cause for an on-site inspection. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Iran for their statement and invite the representative of Iraq.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. The Iraq delegation would like to inform that we have ratified the CTBT on the 26th September 2013. The Iraq delegation noted the Equilibrium request on-site inspection is within each state party's right to request an on-site inspection. However, the on-site inspection request by Equilibria doesn't satisfy all the requirements for on-site inspection. Without radionuclide results, it's difficult to support the on-site inspection. The Equilibrium must provide more information for on-site inspection based on the Part 2, Paragraph 41 of the protocol. Also to remind you, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, the Atlantis has also ratified the CTBT on 9 March 1998 and has been commitment in support mission of disarmament, resettlement, and nuclear for peaceful use. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, the distinguished representative of Iraq, for your statement, and I invite the distinguished representative of Ukraine to deliver their national statement.
Mr. Chairman, for the first time I'm taking the floor. Let me congratulate you for your election. Ukraine is deeply concerned that there is an allegation of the conduct of nuclear tests which represent a threat to international peace and security and constitute a flagrant breach of the non-proliferation regime, including universal norms prohibiting nuclear testing. Ukraine continues to urge all member states to show compliance to the CTBT. In this regard, I would like to recall today that Atlantis signed the CTBT and ratified, and it has been a strong and active support to the CTBT. Atlantis is a strong and active supporter of the CTBT since 1996. Atlantis does not possess weapons of mass destruction, so to our belief, Atlantis has been a victim of an earthquake. On the concern raised by Equilibria and states party to the treaty, is the concern worth considering under Article 4 of the treaty? The onset of request of equilibria is one of the kind since CTBT has been entered force. As it has been mentioned that atmospheric transport modeling and radionuclide analysis are in process. Moreover, previous seismic data on the site must be analyzed for final conclusion from member states. Mr. Chairman, as sovereign states, and give that the request may or may not violate sovereignty of another country, Ukraine will support the consensus of this Council. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I thank the distinguished representative of Ukraine for the national statement and invite the representative of Côte d'Ivoire to deliver their national statement.
Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleagues, Côte d'Ivoire, as a ratifier of the CTBT, attaches great importance to the implementation of the treaty and believes that in the case of a suspicion, the reputation of the respective member state as well as the credibility of the CTBT should be both taken into consideration. What we so far know about the event on May 21st, based on the explanations of the Technical Secretariat, is that it can't be screened as a natural event. Atlantis surely deserves the respect of international community for its steadfast support of disarmament initiatives and regimes. So my delegation proposes that the decision on this on-site inspection of the said event be deferred to additional information and a stronger proof for suspicion, including radionuclide data. At the same time, we deeply appreciate any flexibility from the side of Atlantis. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished delegate of Côte d'Ivoire for their national statement. We've exhausted our speakers list, but if any of the representatives would like to clarify their national positions or request any clarification, please do so. Philippines? Oh, okay. I give the floor to the Philippines.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Your Excellency, Director General, distinguished delegates. It is an honor for me to have the opportunity to deliver our statement on the behalf of the Republic of the Philippines. From the outset, allow me to congratulate you on your election as Chair of the Executive Council of the CTBTO. You will be able to count on the full support of my country for the successful conclusion of this important meeting on the particular issue of the CTBT Treaty. The Philippines would also like to extend our warmest welcome to the Director General for his commitment and leadership in the disarmament on non-proliferation issues. The Philippines would also like to offer their support for the initiative for an on-site inspection in Atlantis. We feel that there's been insufficient clarification on the event from May 21st, and this would offer a definitive answer to that question. The Philippines would also like to underscore the importance of an effective implementation of the CTBT, which reflects our collective commitment to promote peace, security, stability, and development. Moreover, the Republic of the Philippines would like to continue to urge all states to come to a consensus on this issue. We look forward to working closely with you on your mandate, and we hope we can find a consensus on this issue. Thank you very much, Mr. Director General.
I thank the distinguished representative of the Philippines for their national statement, and I would like to ask Vietnam to take the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Republic of Vietnam, making use of its attribute as an Executive Council member of the CTBTO, declares its position on the suspicious event that occurred in May 21 to 2026 in the territory and Atlantis. After considering the actual facts that have been presented by equilibria, we believe that there are not present the element and technical argument to suggest that the given aforementioned suspicious event represents a violation to the treaty. the mining activities for more than 5 years declared by the Atlantis in the area where it's located in the epicenter of the referred suspicious event could perfectly explain why the IMS has not screened out this event. Therefore, prior to any discussion over the pertinence of an OSI, we strongly request the consideration of IDC data and products coming from the radionuclide and noble gas EMS network. As a member of NPT, Atlantis is a nuclear weapon-free state since 1973, and like our republic, is an ASEAN country and has signed safeguard agreement with the IAEA since 1997. Promoting nuclear technological cooperation for peaceful purpose among developing countries. It's our request that deliberation around the petition of an on-site inspection to Atlantis take place with replace and recognition of its long-lasting tradition as a peaceful state. We believe that Atlantis is naturally peaceful state that always has fulfilled its obligation and maintained and the strong commitment to good cause that represent the best for humanity. In any case, if an on-site inspection process, this must never mean a violation of the sovereignty of Atlantis, and this must proceed by accordance with the provision of Article 4 and Part 2 of the Protocol. Finally, Vietnam suggests consulting the multilateral position that must emerge from the member of CTBT SEAPFE states and include Atlantis. Also, we may consider the valuable opinion of our important allies, United States and Japan expert in nuclear matters, who will be able to make important technical and political contribution to the process. Thank you.
Thank you, and I invite the representative of the Democratic Republic of Congo to clarify their position.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairperson. I would like to refer to the fact that was mentioned by OSI Director that the clarification of that event would be provided by 2nd of June by Atlantis. So I would like to reiterate our position once again to defer the voting on this request. And another important issue is that with all due respect, the statement by the Equilibrium was more emotional than factual, while the OSI request should be based on technical data and information. Thank you.
Thank you. And I would like to request the representative of South Africa to present their statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Director General, distinguished delegates, and everyone who is present today at this session of paramount global importance. Since renouncing our own nuclear arsenal, South Africa has been outspoken in its support for abolishing nuclear weapon tests, as well as for complete elimination of nuclear weaponry worldwide. The proclaimed commitment, therefore, contributes to our solid standpoint in favor of the on-site inspection as the most reliable way to ensure that the international peace has nothing to fear from the part of nuclear technologies, that the Earth is safe from their potentially perilous applications. We believe that the available information on the event is sufficient to recourse to such a politically and technically intricate measure as an on-site inspection. South Africa hopes that Atlantis, as well as other states parties to the CTBT, acknowledge the sole concern for the world's peace and tranquility that has dominated the decision-making process of South Africa. Thank you.
Thank you, the distinguished representative of South Africa. At this time, if there are no any, well, I see which, Russian. Oh, the Russian Federation, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Russian Federation noticed that most of the countries that request more data for the on-site inspection are mostly in the Southeast Asia and Pacific region. And we would like to remind that all the delegates, this is not the time to consider the interests of where you are geographically. We understand that you share the same interests since you're geographically close, but this is the security issue that concerns the well-being of all the human beings. So in the following debate, we would like to remind all of the delegates that it is important to consider the bigger picture instead of focusing on your regional groups. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Russian Federation. Atlantis, would you like to respond to any statements or allegations or what?
Thank you for the floor. The delegation from Atlantis would like to thank our colleagues from Botswana and India for offering their support at this time while we are dealing with a humanitarian crisis in response to the earthquake and the populace surrounding Grove City. And we appreciate them taking the time to remind the room the importance of focusing on the humanitarian impact of the earthquake and serving the populace in the surrounding area that is suffering rather than spending a large amount of time and resources completing an OSI that we know will prove the country has not conducted a nuclear test. Secondly, we would like to respond to Equilibria's claim that there is no harm posed by the carrying out an OSI on our territory, and that there is no infringement upon our sovereignty. The risk here is that we would be wasting resources and funds to complete an OSI that we know will be found to prove that we have not conducted a nuclear explosion. So while it is not necessarily an infringement on our sovereignty if the OSI is subject to due process of the CTBT, it is important to remember that this frivolous use of OSI would divert resources and attention from the actual impactful use of OSI in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Atlantis. And I give the floor to Equilibria to respond.
Thank you very much. And I think as we're wrapping up this session that we would like to invite everybody to come and talk to us about your individual concerns. We welcome the opportunity to explain our position further and address any specific concerns that we may not have addressed or do not have time to address in this public setting. Specifically, we would like to invite the representatives from Atlantis as well as the representatives from the Democratic Republic of the Congo. We would love to talk with you more and address your concerns. Lastly, we also, on behalf of our country, would like to offer our sincerest condolences to those affected by the disaster, or the seismic events in Atlantis, and we offer our financial support and any resources that may be necessary. Please do feel free to contact us, and we will be happy to set up a humanitarian relief effort. Thank you so much.
Thank you, the distinguished representative of Equilibria, and I support your call for consultations, and I would like to encourage all the members of the Executive Council to engage in bilateral and multilateral consultations. I myself will lead consultations with country groups, with individual members. So in the time left before lunch and afterwards, I encourage you to contact your colleagues and engage in active consultations with or without involvement of Atlantis or Equilibria. So I would like to adjourn the meeting now, and we will reconvene at 2:30.
fellow delegates, just a question. Representatives of Argentina and Canada, if you are in the room and you're not sitting by your nameplates, please take the seats with Canada right here and Argentina right here.